So fun facts about our next speaker. English is actually his second language, fun fact. And also he's a high altitude mountaineer. So he likes to climb, high summits, right? Which he's also done that at a super high level in his production business. Over 450 million in production in the last 12 months, 460 transactions. So let's go ahead and give a huge round of applause for Dan Beer.
Thank you. What's up? All right, guys, here we go. I'm really excited to share what I'm going to share with you here because I've only ever done it in a small, intimate group. And I'm going to bring it here because I think there's never been a more important time for what I'm going to bring out right now. So the first thing is we're going to talk today about guarantees and risk reversal. I am passionate about helping agents change their lives through their business. And there's nothing that'll get you there in a more predictable manner than adjusting the message that you are using with your buyers and your sellers. And so I'm going to teach with the time I have, go through guarantees and risk reversal, how to use them in your business. And you've probably noticed in your marketplace, if you look at the biggest producers out there, in virtually any market, they're using these techniques. They are using the very thing that I'm going to share with you here. But there's a big issue with my biggest commitment to you, which is I want you to leave here and take action. And the biggest issue I find is that you get into stuff like what I'm going to share with you here today that's typically reserved for really, really, intimate rooms, high level, high ticket. And the reason why is most agents have this belief system that there will be some day in your career when the real estate gods show up and anoint you as being able or worthy of doing what just frankly is cool shit, of doing things at the highest level creatively. And the reality is, there's agents in the room that will do that in their very first year of business. There's agents in the room that'll do it in their third year, in their 10th year, and there's some that will never do it at all. And the reason why is they'll be waiting for that day when somehow, some way, someone shows up and says, you can now do all of the things you've been waiting to do. But the reality is that only one person will ever grant you that, and it's you. You will be the only one that gives yourself permission, and you can choose to do so now. You can choose to do so here at this very event. You could procrastinate till you get home, or you can wait until whatever this day comes that mostly never does for people because they're waiting for it to come from the outside. So I encourage you to take action and just to realize you can do this. And I don't care what level you're at, what your finances look like. Let's jump in. Whoa, you guys hear that crack? I'm coming of age. So, hey. So you take on, the components of risk reversal, okay, are that you take on the perceived risk on your customer's behalf. And that's a key component. See, there's the perceived risk that your buyers and your sellers are going to experience in the process of selling or buying a home. But the reality is that the true risk maybe is right here. And then what you can do is through controlling things, through the fine print, the terms, the conditions, and so on, you can make the real true risk down here. So you could create this gigantic gap of value using what I'll share with you today. Again, they perceive the risk to be here, but you can engineer it so that really the risk lays somewhere in this zone, and all of this giant gap of value is what you now uniquely pass on to them that no other agent in the marketplace is willing to, or knows how. And so therefore freeing yourself. We'll go deeper into that. You lower the barriers that prevent people from doing business with you. You give them a compelling reason to buy today without the fear of looking bad tomorrow. And that fear of looking bad tomorrow is what gets in the way of so many. It gets in the way just like it does of you and I, which is sometimes why we're looking for the outside to give us that permission that we talked about. Our customers are the same. And a really important component of this is like the advanced level, but you can just go there now, is that they must come out better than they went in, no matter what happens. Meaning if they interact with your business, we'll go deeper. Just want to set the table. If they interact with you and your business, just for the very pure reason that they did that, regardless of the outcome, they still come out better. And if you can weave all that in, you'll have a great risk reversal strategy. So what's guarantee marketing? It's defined as when you make it risk-free to buy from you and tell the world about it, and more people will buy. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to do that? Okay. Now this is critical because if your service is interchangeable with your competitors, then you become commoditized and trapped. Let's dig into that. So you become commoditized. Have you noticed that in the marketplace, there's all agents mostly doing the same things, saying the same things, regurgitating the same scripts, showing up the same way, with the same low expectations? And there's a reason for it, and it's really part of one of the issues and problems, but also opportunities with our entire industry. See, I don't know about you, but I didn't go through very much effort to get my real estate license. I took 135 hours, in quotes, right, because they were BS hours. It's just a bunch of books that showed up in the mail and some open book tests on the internet to get my license, and then a state exam that sure you had to do some studying for. But see, if you think about how people learn to do real estate, what they think marketing is, what they think messaging is, they go through the same very little effort that I went through, that you likely went through. They show up at their first office, and they look around and say, what are the other agents doing? And they see what they're doing, and they start to mimic and do those same things. The way they set up, I mean, it's just as simple as even the way they set up an open house. Well, I don't know. I hypothesize that maybe there's a better way than throwing 6 signs out on the corner at 12:55, running back to the house sweating, and then hoping people show up. But that's the process, because when you get licensed, you observe what the agents did before you, and you just copy. But the thing we miss is that those agents got licensed the same way and came up and showed up and did the same thing with the generation prior to them. And it's generation after generation after generation, all doing the same amateur things. So it's the challenge, but it's also the beauty, because, see, the challenge for you and I, who are clearly more committed, that's why we're in a room like this, is that when we are talking to somebody about the fact that we do real estate, what's the number one thing we have to overcome? First, we just have to get them to understand that we're not just another realtor. I mean, we have to literally just validate that we are not down here. The beauty, though, is that if you can do so, and using risk reversal and guarantees in your messaging is a beautiful way to do it, to differentiate yourself, to leave the others over there while you step over here as the clear only choice of what you offer is what they want, then you can really win at a high level. And this trapped piece, commoditized and trapped. Well, if you're like everyone else, why do you think that realtors, why do we think we live with the anxiety of, I have to run out of my kid's party, I have to run out of the movie theater, I can't go here, I can't go on vacation, I can't, because we're trapped. Because whether you've ever processed what I'm saying or not, at a conscious or subconscious level, you understand that if you're like everyone else and you don't answer the phone this exact second, they'll just call the next and it'll all be the same and they won't care. But if you're different, all of a sudden you have control. And that's what this is about. Here's a good example. Here's a good example from a crazy real estate company. Let's read through this. Sell your home for 100% of your asking price, or we will pay you the difference, plus $3,000. And if we don't sell the home within 29 days, we will pay your utility bills for the additional days on market. And if you choose to fire us for any reason, you can do so at any time and without penalty. You're never locked in. We must perform to your satisfaction. Plus, we will pay you $2,000 toward the commission of the new agent you choose for the inconvenience and get you a room at the Del Mar Hilton for a 2-night stay as our apology. That's a guarantee. Now there's, in reality, several of them woven in together. Okay, because this crazy company, that's mine, and I'm just comfortable with it. We'll come back and revisit that in a moment. But there's guarantee phobia that stands in the way, and I totally get it. See, if at any point, here's the deal. Check in with how you're feeling with yourself as I'm reading that. If you were feeling, oh, well, yeah, okay, whatever, then I might not have anything. But if you got a little anxiety, a little fear, a little like, this guy's crazy, he's going to lose his butt, like, if I did that, how would I mean, I'm going to lose $2,000 here, $3,000 there, how will, those things are all going through your mind, that's the entire purpose. Because if it's going through your mind, it means the customer might be paying attention. And I'll share with you how to control those things. But the guarantee phobia is what gets in the way because you forget that you get to make a choice. See, most realtors are playing by rules written by others, and those rules don't even exist. You're playing by rules that don't exist. The rule about the 6 signs on the corner, that's a rule that doesn't exist. I thought 60 was better. I thought 9 a.m. was better than 12:55. I thought, why not leave them out for hours and hours and hours? Why not let more traffic see them? Why not have thousands of dollars of free billboards for the day? See, there are rules that do not exist by which you're playing. So that's the first acknowledgement. But the second is to realize that what if you wrote the rules? What if you were the one to write the rules? Now you might leave everyone over there and step into that space I spoke about. So if you come back over here, and I don't have time to really dig into all the fine print components and how, it's like an hour course of its own. But just to give you a taste for it, sell your home at 100% of your asking price or we'll pay you the difference. But damn, that could cost me $100,000. Okay, why don't you write the rules? First of all, whose choice was it to list the to list the home for $1 million that you thought was worth $500,000? Whose choice was it? Were you obligated to list it? Were you forced to? So you chose to take it. Okay, so the fact that you get to choose to take it or not take it, A, gives you control. B, what else can you do with that? Well, what if I was to pay the difference up to the amount of commission collected? Which is explained very clearly. But see, marketing is the drive response. And that's why you see the asterisks and the conditions and call for terms and all those things. But you get to write the rules. What if there was a commission premium for somebody that takes you up on the guarantee? See, all of a sudden you have additional commission dollars to be wrong on price that you professionally agreed to, by the way, before you even get to the first dollar that you lose. Let's go further. Or we'll pay you the difference, so plus $3,000, same thing, that's one section. And if we don't sell the home within 29 days, we'll pay your utility bills for the additional days on market. If I listed it correctly, should the home even be on the market for 29 days? Here's a rule that doesn't exist, but all realtors seem to subscribe to. I deserve every last dollar, regardless of my performance. Don't you think it's refreshing to my clients that I don't subscribe to it? So if I, as an accountable human being, took on the listing, listed it correctly, I know perceived risk way up here, my true risk, will I not sell it in 29 days, way down here, and let's say I lose $200. All right, now raise your hand and make some noise because I can't see you with these lights. Raise your hand if at your median sales price in your market, you'd like to buy a listing, I've got a bunch in my pocket, for $200. Yeah, exactly, so it's the same thing. Just start thinking differently. Same thing. And you go on and on. And so when you realize you can write the rules, you don't have to play by all those amateur rules that are out there. you'll be very different. You'll start to control. You will not be commoditized. You won't be trapped. Let's talk quickly about what does not work in guarantees. You saw the teeth in the one I shared with you. You saw the specificity. Here's what doesn't work. All work, things like this. All work 100% guaranteed. No kidding, like I shouldn't pay for things I don't get. Like this isn't moving me. We continue working until you're completely satisfied. This is like an anti-offer. I'm not satisfied and you're going to keep working? Get the hell out of the way. Our service is guaranteed. What does that mean? Okay, so vague offers, you may as well not make them because they'll just create more questions than answers, and you actually get in your own way. Here's some quick examples, and I'm going to, just based on time and something I know I want to share with you, I'm going to just go really quickly here, but these were just a bunch of examples of how they show up on websites, on postcards, this is another postcard, on some other website, on the back of a bus. So guaranteed, right? So do I have space to write what I just talked about on a bus? Guaranteed sold for the price you want. On a billboard, TV commercial, email, an endorsed posting by ABC 10 News, and so on. Other places where they'll show up is in radio copy, in your buyer presentation materials, your listing presentation materials. Could show up in email signatures. And that's one of the keys. You have to be consistent. See, throwing out no matter what kind of offer is made, but if you're not consistent and committed to it, they won't ultimately believe you. So it's having it really live through everything that you do. And that's a larger marketing conversation. You notice a lot of the congruent nature of everything I just showed you, whether it was a bus, a billboard, or a postcard. So the look and feel of everything weaving in together, it's just important. Sorry, let's go backwards here. Flexible commissions. So what's one of the other worries and fears of our customer? Is it maybe that they'll pay too much? Yes? They worried they might pay us too much. Awesome. Well, I'm not going to memorize the same old script as every other agent in town. Instead, I'm going to make them an offer that reverses the risk. Here's the dialogue. You get to the part where you're going to discuss commissions. And you say, well, I'm glad you asked because we make them ask. And just like everything else we've discussed, we approach this very differently from everybody else because we have a belief system that compensation and value should never be out of alignment. And it's only when a seller pays more than the value they've received that they really become unhappy. But when compensation and value are aligned, most sellers are happy to pay and because they're getting the right results. So here's how we do it. And I'm telling them how to think. So here's how we do it. Your commission, I have Michael Valdez here in front, which is great. Your commission, Michael, it could be 0%. 0% would be in the event that the buyer comes from your sphere. It could be your friends, families, coworker, a neighbor, someone from your motorcycle club, or wherever it might be. You bring the buyer, you ask us to step away, 0%. Now the commission could be 2%. 2% would be in the identical scenario that I just described, except where you still retain us and say, Dan, I'd still like you to execute all that has to happen, from putting the contract together to getting the inspection done, negotiating repairs, navigating the disclosures, interfacing with the lender, the appraiser, title, escrow, A to Z, all the way to the closing. In that case, Michael, it would only be 2%. Now, the commission could be 5%, and 5% would be in the case where I find the buyer, I bring them here, we get you an offer that you're thrilled with, and we take you all the way through those same steps all the way to the closing. Or it could be 6% in the case that the buyer is represented by an outside agent. I exclusively negotiate on your behalf. And I'm going to reiterate all those things, right? All the way from the contract to I make it heavy. The disclosures, to the inspection, to the interfacing, whatever that means with the appraiser, with the lender, all the way to the closing. Key line. Now, of course, Michael, you'll never accept a 6% offer unless it nets you more than any of the other offers, even after the fee difference. Does that make sense? Awesome. So that's the way we structure that, and that's just an example, okay? You might choose 0, 1, 4, and 5. You might choose 0, 3, 6, and 7. I don't care what you choose. And in fact, let me give you my little disclosure there. These are just for illustrative purposes only. Come up with your own. I'm not actually telling you what my commissions are. I hope that, NAR or whoever heard it. Great. You must, however, as you weave in your touch, if you're going to choose a strategy like this, you cannot play with the 0%. That must be. But Dan, 0? See, the moment you're like, oh, 0, that feeling is the reverse it. That's their excitement. But don't we know our business better than they do, don't we? So we know where the true risk is versus the perceived risk, and you're always having to be conscious of that. So how often does the seller bring the client, the buyer, and ask you to step away? I don't know. It's happened to me. Is it 1 in 500? Maybe? Possibly. Okay, awesome. Let's just go ahead and amortize that one loss, 15 grand or whatever it was, across 500 freaking listings. Who wants to buy, who's that 15? I mean, you go take a loan on that, wouldn't you, if you don't have it for 500 listings? Yes? Great. Okay, so would I. So you can't play with that one. Oh, but can't I make it 1? You're making a huge mistake if you do. Grow the gap of perceived value. Grow it. Don't shrink it, because it's not going to happen anyway. That next level. How often does somebody find the buyer from their own world and say, here's the buyer, but Dan, I'd still like to engage you to do everything? I don't know, once every 200? 300? So again, where are we going to land? In the example I gave you, which is just an illustrative example, we're going to land on 5 and 6, which we could have a different argument about, but I would be thrilled with. So you're able to reverse the risk, get on their side, and just have a conversation with. This is just one example. But ultimately, you want to be able to sit with somebody and say, listen, while every other agent believes they should get paid what they're going to get paid regardless of outcome, well, I don't know. Let me ask you this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Are you held accountable in your life and in your job? Are you held accountable to the results? Then why is it that agents are going to get paid regardless of the outcome? So I'm here to change that. I want to go on your side of the table. Let's be in full alignment as to what has to happen here. And you just have a new narrative, all because you understand how to use and just strategically weave in these strategies. And there's obviously so much more, and a lot of it is in that fine print. Talked about this, other places where you can find them. How do you create your own guarantee? It's important that we leave you in knowing how to think about this. How do you create your own? Because the key is, be different. So the entire purpose of this all is to give your client a sense of control and for them to become the hero of their own story. Step 1 is, what keeps them up at night? What are they worried about? Who's the villain in their story? Is it something about the way they grew up? Is it something about agents and the way they act? Is it something about the financial education that they never received? Who is the villain in their story? And what keeps them up? Is it getting stuck with the wrong person? Is it paying too much? Is it getting the wrong price? Once you understand that, then where is there more perceived risk than true risk? And find those spots and make a compelling offer, but protect yourself with the terms and conditions. Then you must take on their perceived burden or struggle on their behalf so they aren't left carrying all of that risk on their own. Step onto their side of the table. And the beauty is, again, leave them better than how they showed up. Leave them better than how they showed up. For a while, I was running one years back. I was saying, interview me, and if you hire one of my competitors, I'll pay you $500. If you spend a moment with me, you'll leave better than you showed up, whether we do business or not. You can weave that in. It starts to have real teeth. Some four key rules. Be specific. Be bold. Weak messages are ignored. If your mom doesn't call you nervous, asking you if you've lost your mind, your message sucks. Make it count and be consistent. It's important finally to remember that these guarantees, what are their primary job? It's to create inbound inquiry. It's to make it so that you are different. They need what you have and the next agent doesn't have it. It's that when you have, right, I think this next slide says how to think of your losses, right? So how to think of your loss, it's so that when you have those losses, you think of them not as losses, you think of them as a very small cost amortized across all of the listings, in my case around 1,000 that I don't believe I would have had without thinking this way. And we'd have trouble. By the time we figured out a number that you and I would not write a check for 1,000 extra listings, that number would be pretty darn big. So they're not losses. That's just the cost of acquiring the business. You want to go deeper into these sort of things, I'll just leave this out there, Marketing Inner Circle. marketinginnercircle.com. It's a membership community where we go deep, deep, deep on marketing and systems detailing out every last thing that you could think of in every space of marketing, this being one of them. Guys, thank you very much. Appreciate you.